Hi there, Rebecca here, your Vibe mentor, bringing you another video on how to raise your vibration so you can live your best life. Wanted to chat with you guys today about the dark night of the soul and how to identify if you are experiencing the dark night of the soul. I had to bring my microphone over, forgot that. So, oftentimes we can experience small bouts of depression, typical ups and downs in life. The dark night of the soul is very, very different. And I oftentimes hear from people who either are in the dark night of the soul or questioning if they're in the dark night of the soul. And there are a lot of questions about how to get out of it. So I'm going to focus today just specifically on how do I know if I'm experiencing the dark night of the soul? What is it? What are the symptoms? And then I will do another video tomorrow on how to get out of the dark night of the soul. So if you are questioning whether or not you are experiencing the dark night of the soul, today's video is for you. So I personally had a very, very deep dark night of the soul. I was about 27 years old. I had gone through extremely difficult adverse childhood experiences. I will refrain from sharing the gory story of all the details, but essentially, you could tick every box, and there was no shortage of adversity growing up. So I had spent a lot of my really young childhood years trying to figure out what was going on with my parents. I knew at a very early age something wasn't quite right. There was a moment where I really felt like a split in my psyche where I had just surrendered and given up to life and to my parents and their berating of how awful I was. Growing up with a minister for a father, essentially, I was told that I was a sinner every day of my life. And that was just the early childhood. And then come mid childhood, teenage years, the external world was starting to reflect to me what my parents had reflected to me. And so then it just became like the snowball effect where it just felt like, what's the point of living? And that was just general every day. So if you can imagine, even in my 20s, going through narcissistic relationships and struggling with trying to find love in anything, there finally was a breaking point. 27 was it. And I reached that point where I just felt like, what's the point of life? This isn't working. Whatever society says we should do to make us happy isn't working. And it just was a feeling of despair. And so if you are feeling that sense of what's the point of life, sort of questioning the fabric of existence, questioning whether or not life is worth living, feeling such a deep sense of despair, you may be having a dark night of the soul. Certainly, depression is different. It's not necessarily the same as a dark night of the soul. Essentially, dark night of the soul is more of a soul sickness. Where our soul, there's that part of us. I tend to refer to it in my heart or in my gut. It's at the deep core center of us that questions, what the hell are we doing? What is the point of all of this? They say that, this path is going to, the thing I should do is going to make me happy. But the soul knows that this isn't right. And the soul sickness, the dark night of the soul, is the soul's just desperate cry for change and shift. It's almost as if the soul has allowed the mind to control everything, to do what society says we should do, to get to a place so that we can see that this is not working. It's not ever going to work. And it's almost as if the ego is in a moment of despair, just kind of feeling like nothing's working. And the soul is sick, literally sick to its own stomach, because we are so far off path. We are so far from where we should be that it's as if the soul is on the verge of its own crisis, right? It's sort of the ultimate abandonment, where from a mental standpoint, we've tried everything. From a physical standpoint, we've tried everything. We have abandoned our soul. We've abandoned our life's purpose. We've abandoned our divinity. to follow this egoic path, looking in the pursuit of happiness, which is really what the soul wants as well. But because of the conflict of society and the programming that tells us that we have to do these things, we should follow this path, we abandoned our internal guidance. It's partially because of the programming that our parents gave us. It's everything around us, really. And no one could be blamed or faulted for ending up in that place, because everything around us is sending us the wrong message. And so ultimately, we inadvertently abandon ourselves. Either our family did, society did, or we did it to ourselves, or a collection of all three. But the soul is crying out for your attention to help you see that the thing we fear is the very thing that we are creating in our lives. And there's a feeling of hopelessness because everything that is supposed to work isn't working, right? And so there's a confusion around, how is this game of life supposed to work? Because clearly what they said is not working. And so it's a feeling of despair and helplessness almost, because we feel like it's like getting into a Ferrari and trying to drive it like a Ford. It just doesn't work, right? We have to be given the tools of how to play this game, and the tools they gave us were wrong. They don't work, and it's like a confusion of like, what the fuck is going on, right? Why is this not working? Nothing works the way they said it was going to work, and anything that used to work is no longer working. So what's going on? Who's not telling me the way to shift this car? Who's not telling me how to play this game of life, right? And there's a darkness, there's a heaviness. It's like, is it always going to be broken? Is it always going to be this painful? Is it always going to hurt this much? Am I always going to have to stuff down and ignore all these feelings? This deep sense of, I know something isn't right. I know that there's got to be more. I know it's got to be better. I know there's got to be a better way. And yet nobody around you is talking about it. Nobody around you is acknowledging that they also feel the same way, that they were stuffing down these emotions, or medicating them, or numbing them, or distracting from them, or ignoring them. And yet we're supposed to be happy? It just doesn't make any sense, right? It's as if you're in the void. You're in between point A, which is what society says you should do, and everything you thought you should do that you gave a try that didn't work, and some unknown point B that you have no idea where you're trying to go or how to make this work. And you're in the void in between of like, what the hell's going on? Where the fuck am I? I don't even know if I'm supposed to swear on YouTube, so I hope I don't get a strike for that. And I don't swear in real life, but it's just so critically important to use extra language to say, this is as bad as it freaking gets. This is so confusing and so mind-boggling and so what the what? Right? And you just don't know where to go. You don't know where to turn. It's so confusing, right? You feel angry. You feel desperate. You feel even suicidal. Like, is it worth it? There's no energy. You may have an increase in addictions because of the need to just make it stop hurting, right? You have low self-care. You have no energy to go out and live a life, let alone to take care of yourself, right? You might feel irritable. You likely will have an increase in what some people will call ascension symptoms, which is something else we'll have to talk about for another day. But because of this darkness and this heaviness and this denseness, and our ego and mind are controlling everything, it's ruining everything, it will create more problems. And we'll talk about that again another day. You likely will isolate, right? We don't have the energy to live life. We don't really have the energy to be around people. It's difficult to understand how they can seemingly be happy and they've seemingly got it all figured out, but I can't get it figured out, right? So why spend time with them? And actually the hermit mode is part of the process. So that isolation is actually a critical component in moving through it. And like we'll talk about tomorrow, how to heal it. again, questioning the fabric of his existence, deeply regretting things in the past that we can't change, while simultaneously worrying. Our brain and our ego will project on the future, worrying that the future is going to be the same as the past, which then inadvertently is recreating more of the past in the future, the very thing we're afraid of, right? And so we're questioning, like, what really matters? What is the point of all this? And what truly, truly matters? Is this worth it? What is worth it? And we start to realize that nothing is real. And all of this seemingly things that matter, that society tells us should be important, they don't matter anymore. That a six-figure corporate career actually sucks the life out of you instead of gives you the ego drive that the ego keeps telling you it's going to give you. Right? Keeping up with the Joneses doesn't make you happy. The car's great for a day or two, but that fades too. Everything that you base your self-worth on, everything that you think is going to make you happy, everything that seems of value is fleeting. It doesn't stick around for long, and somebody can take it away at any minute. So really, what's it all worth? And that's when we really start to take a look at what really, really matters, what's sustainable. And unfortunately, we have to be in that place of nothing matters before we can find what does matter. And that, in your shock and surprise, may be the best gift that's ever happened to you. If you are in a dark night of the soul, this is a beautiful place of blossoming into a new life. Point B, we're in between point A and point B. Point B is awesome. You just can't see it yet. Because this is the moment of awakening. This is the moment of creating awareness. Awakening is awareness. It's consciousness. To be able to be aware and conscious of all of the unseen things. The fact that your mind creates the chemistry in your body. Or the fact that your mind creates your emotions and your emotions create a vibration. And your reality around you is all emanating from you. And add to that, you have control. And the crazy part about a dark night of the soul is you'll feel helpless. You feel like you have no control. But it's only because we've attempted control through the wrong mechanisms. We weren't taught how. And on the other side of that are the right mechanisms. And it works. And you can figure out the game of life. And you can play it, and it's fun. It's freaking awesome. It's so much fun. But unfortunately, we live in a dualistic world, and so to be able to see the awesomeness, we also have to see the darkness. We have to go through and try everything they told us that was going to work, and we have to figure out for ourselves that it doesn't work, which brings us to the place of zero, which actually is a good thing. It's like the blank canvas, and you're the artist holding the paintbrush. That you get to start fresh, and you get to start new. You get to start over, and you get to realize what really matters and build a foundation on something that is sustainable. If you feel like life is blah, and you feel like it's not really worth it, but you just keep going through the motions anyways because you should, or because you have to, or because you feel trapped, or because you tell yourself that you're trapped, you're really not. All is an illusion, including the restrictions you put on yourself. Yes, you have to feed your family. Yes, you have to pay your bills. But that soul-sucking job is not the only way to do that. Your Creator cares about you. You are here for a reason. You have purpose. You have value. Life is amazing when you learn how to work with all of those things. The birds don't struggle to eat. The trees don't struggle for water. You will never struggle for the things that are intended for you. The only struggle comes through the resistance that we put on ourselves. So I'm going to stop now and save the rest for tomorrow, because I'm just going to get into how to get through it. I have a problem-solving mind that is one of my gifts and strengths That is my unique purpose. You have one too. So I'm going to save it for tomorrow. Come with me. Find me on the next video, and we will talk more about how to get through the dark night of the soul, tap into your life purpose, live an amazing life, reach your highest potential, achieve your dreams. All the things you hope for are available to you. Your soul sickness is a gift. Your dark night of the soul is the deep, deep darkness before the dawn. I love you so much, and I look forward to helping you on the next video. Bye, my friends. Namaste.